Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for May the 27th, 2020. Today I would like to talk about what I wasn't going to talk about on Monday, but have decided to talk about now because of the absolute basically biased crap we've gotten from the BBC. And that is the hashtag CumGate. This was trending on Twitter for quite some time. Now that enough time has passed, a clearer perspective can be given, but since some people are still harping on about it, we should definitely have a word about it. So what happened? Dominic Cummings, because his wife presented symptoms of COVID-19, took his children to his parents. His parents lived in excess of 200 miles away from where he was in London. London, like the rest of the United Kingdom, was under strict lockdown. The guidance from the government was only in emergency are you to leave. Otherwise, the only time you should leave the home would be to get food, medical supplies, and one daily activity outside, that is exercise. The round trip was over 500 miles, which led a number of people to believe that he did this on one tank of fuel. It is possible, by the way, to do it on one tank of fuel, but let's face it, even he admitted he refueled at least once. Dominic Cummings' position was, to protect his children, he must take them away from somebody in case they themselves become infected. They are, by definition, considered vulnerable. And I'll be honest, it is his right to do this. Dominic Cummings, for those who don't know who he is a chief advisor to the Prime Minister. I, on many occasions, have joked he basically runs the country. He is the one that helped force through Brexit. And he may as well have masterminded the Prime Minister's win in 2019. He's also not a fan of journalists, which has led a number of journalists to find this out and then attack him because he doesn't like them. The desperation for Senpai to notice them is astonishing. In the media's eye, because he doesn't like them, they are desperate to pwn him and to force a resignation. Proof of that would be basically every bit of BBC media coverage over the last 4 days. BBC standing for basically biased crap. Upon the media finding out that he had done this, a number of lies circulated. That included him making a second trip, something which he has refuted. And I'm inclined to believe him because they themselves don't have proof of it. In fact, the entire argument of him making a second trip was based on a speculative quote from a BBC, air quotes, title on a tweet that led to an article. That particular title, though, was a mishmash of quotes from random people put together to make it look like a legit article. But when you click on the article, it's not that at all. Because of how those systems work, they make catchy, clickbaity titles to trick the casual reader. A number of politicians, including Ian Blackford, and I think Keir Starmer actually, called for his resignation. And then their reason would be insert political bias here. With the media, unironically, accusing him of hypocrisy, while they themselves abandon social distancing rules to tell him of his own hypocrisy.
Are you going to consider your position, Mr. Cummings?
Obviously not.
You're not going to consider resigning? The public are probably very angry.
Don't think so. You guys are probably about as right about that as you are about Brexit. Do you remember how right you all were about that?
Is it one rule for you and another for everyone else, though, Mr. Cummings?
You're going to get someone with the boot.
Just remember how well you guys did before. Watch out. Out the way.
Right. One rule for him, one rule for you? Okay. All the while telling him, is it one rule for you, one rule for the rest of us? Not even a joke. The following day, after they spent all that time badgering him in the streets, Dominic Cummings held a press conference in a garden, explaining his position clearly, but there were obvious clear baited signs. The intention being to make it clear that the media thought they controlled him, and him taking as long as he could to answer every question proved otherwise.
Mr. Cummings, thousands of people watching this, ordinary families, have put up with all kinds of restrictions and hardships, regardless of their medical or family requirements. People not going to funerals, people not even going into hospital when their kids have been having cancer treatment. Why are you so different? What those people, I think, see here is that there's one rule for you, one of the most powerful people in this country, and there's another rule for them. Don't you think you, at the very least, owe them an apology?
I don't think I'm so. I don't think I'm so different, and I don't think there's one rule for me and one rule for other people. As I said, I think that I looked at the. I knew what the guidance was. It talks about exceptional circumstances with small children, and I think that in all the circumstances I behaved reasonably and legally, as I said.
But people will be listening to this. For days, government ministers have obfuscated about whether you went to Barnard Castle, no information put out. This is meant to be the people's government, isn't it? But you've badly misjudged public mood on this. This hasn't damaged the Prime Minister. It has undermined your policy, and it's undermined public confidence in the government. It could even now threaten public health if people decide that the rules don't matter. How can you even countenance at the moment staying on and not resigning?
Well, as I said, I think that there is understandable anger, but a lot of that anger is based on reports in the media that have not been true, and it's extremely regrettable. But the media that were reporting some of these things that were wrong were told that they were wrong, but they reported them anyway, and that has caused a lot. That has caused a lot of anger. I know a lot of people have shouted at me in the street. Why did you go back? Why did you go back to see your parents just because you wanted to? But I did not do that.
You could see the frustration in the delivery when they were then resorting to, but and then insert random person here with feels. Question here. Yesterday, some unknown junior minister resigned because constituents. Okay. The Prime Minister has put his support fully behind Dominic Cummings, which led to a hashtag boo for Boris. That was supposed to happen in conjunction with the hashtag clap for the NHS at 8 p.m. in the evenings. But I think given the choice, the majority would rather just clap for the NHS instead. We'll stick to one empty gesture because we're not very good at multitasking. Michael Gove also went on to the BBC Breakfast Show, a show that clearly, much like the rest of the broadcaster, needs defunding. During that particular breakfast show, they tried to frame a number of scenarios to make it seem like Dominic Cummings was in the wrong. Michael Gove pointed out that when they tried to use basic law to prove that Dominic Cummings was in the wrong, they themselves were inaccurate and clearly didn't understand the law, along with then trying to use, but if your eyesight needed testing on the road, clearly you shouldn't be on the road. Right, doctor's advice and all that means nothing. Basically, the media are angry because they can't control the narrative, without lying, that is. The BBC have continued with their basically biased crap today, when on Newsnight, Emily Maitlis went on the attack about Dominic Cummings breaking the rules, and then continued to just attack Boris Johnson's blind loyalty, not understanding the situation at all, which has led to many accusing the BBC, again, of not maintaining impartiality, which there is a legitimate point too. The BBC further proving the point that they are truly into this, balls deep into attacking Dominic Cummings and forcing a resignation of some kind. They cited a YouGov poll on an article, claiming that this is proof the British public want him gone. The sample size is 1,100 people. That is not indicative of the United Kingdom wanting him gone. In fact, if anything, it's just 1,160 very salty people answering a poll that, quite frankly, no one cares about. Much like even less people being interested in the BBC, the basically biased crap. That needs defunding. Your impartiality claims are utter bollocks. With this, with what has happened with CumGate, I'm very much interested to know what you think. The spurging on Twitter is quite common because it is cancel culture central. But the news articles, the BBC, the Daily Mail, the Guardian, the Independent, the Express, all major news outlets in the UK are covering this in a very clear and obvious biased way. And that intrigues me. And hopefully intrigues you too. So please do let me know in the comments down below.